Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another video. Before I get started, if you can, please hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date every time I post a new video. Also, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this video. This will be the first of its kind of me doing this, so it may or may not be the last one. We'll see. I am going to be showing you guys how to do what I like to call some high-end skin retouching, but to where it's not so complex. A lot of people are, even me, I was once that person where I used to shy away from even trying to learn Photoshop because it's just like all the tools that were there. It's like, oh, I gotta learn every single one of these tools. And I just didn't feel like doing it. So I did stay away from Photoshop for a very long time. I stayed in Lightroom and literally just edited everything in Lightroom until I learned some simple, easy ways to use Photoshop. I'm gonna actually be working on some old photos. I think this one is about 3-4 years old. This is from a maternity shoot that I did. I'm gonna show you guys how I would touch this up. And just kind of teach you guys some of the tricks and the shortcuts that I use to edit and make it, you know, not such a lengthy and crazy process. So we're gonna get started on this photo right here. You got the background layer. I'm gonna go ahead and make a copy, Command J if you're on a Mac. Again, don't, like I did, I looked at this bar on the side and I was like, what in the world is all this? You go to Lightroom, everything's pretty much simple. Exposure, contrast, shadows, highlights. It's just a different layout, but it has a lot of the same tools. What I usually start off with is the blemish removal. I start removing anything that I don't want to be in the photo. I do that first. So it's not even just blemishes. It could be an object. It can be, you know, a hair that's in the way. Somehow when I'm using this Wacom tablet, ever since the new update, when I'm using this tool, I would accidentally tap on something and it would create this mask down here. And it confused me for a while because I had no clue what was going on. So make sure to pay attention to that if you're using a Wacom tablet. So I'm gonna go through here. I'm using the patch tool. These are a few different tools that you could use to remove objects or clone objects. Content aware tool, red eye tool, healing brush tool, and the spot healing brush. I typically use the patch. Sometimes I use the spot healing, but those are the two tools that I use. So we're gonna remove any blemishes that I don't want. I don't like to go too extreme sometimes on the skin because I don't want it to look unnatural or too polished. I edit to enhance what's already there. I don't edit to alter anything or to make anything look different. I just take what I see and I just bring it out. I don't worry too much about stray hairs. That's normal. Again, we don't want it to not look natural. We don't want it to look too fabricated or fabricated at all. And her skin is pretty clean, so it's not really much I gotta do. I'm just really, this is me, the 50% perfectionist here when it comes to editing. Let's move to the next step. So now these wrinkles in here, depending on the style of the photo. And a lot of it, you know, for me, I like to try things. If I don't like the way it looks, I just go back. So don't think there's always one way you have to do something. There's actually multiple ways I've learned too as using Photoshop. There's multiple ways to do the same thing. Some things work better than others. Just find which one works best for you. The next thing I'm gonna do is the reason why we're all here. I'm gonna show you guys how to use the frequency separation tool. Now this is a tool, you can create it on your own. I've seen it created multiple different ways. If you already installed it, then it should be up here in your actions tab. When you select the tool, you want to adjust the radius and it's gonna get blurry. So it's gonna blur out the skin, it's gonna blur out the photo. As you're looking at it, I always like to start at 3 or just even start all the way out to fully focused or to 1. What you wanna do is you wanna increase the pixels up until you can no longer see the texture of the skin. I'm gonna explain what texture is and what it looks like. So the higher the number, the more texture you're gonna preserve of the skin. but I like to keep it between 3 and 9. Use your own preference. Go to 2 and 10 or something. Whatever makes you feel accomplished in the end. So I'm gonna start at 3. I'm gonna go up a little more until the texture disappears. So I'm looking at things like just the actual texture of the skin. So usually for photos that are close up, you're gonna use a higher number. For photos that are further away, you're gonna wanna use a lower number. This one is kind of medium. So we're gonna do midway. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 7. No, I'm gonna say 6. I'm gonna say 6. After you do that, you're gonna go back up to frequency separation, which this is the actual tool. This just tells you everything that creates that tool for you, or the action. And you hit play. All right, so we got the frequency separation tool. It came up over here in the layers tab. You wanna open it. So you got the high frequency and the low frequency. The high frequency is gonna be the layer that has all the textures in it. The low frequency is gonna be your colors, and then high frequency is your texture. The tool that you wanna use, some people confuse it. Don't get these two brushes confused. One is the mixer brush and one is the brush tool. Don't confuse the two. Mixer brush blends colors together. That's what we want to do here for this photo. So you click the mixer brush tool, find an area to start. I'm gonna start down here. If your tool doesn't already generate these numbers at the top, these are the numbers that I find work for me. I like the way the mix and the flow combination, how it makes the image look. It's not too heavy. It blends well with what's already there, and it doesn't look like you're painting on the skin, although that's actually what you're doing. You're painting on the skin. Softening and painting. So pay attention to the colors you see. I like to try to keep things as consistent as they are. Sometimes you want to just even it out. So what you're doing is, for instance, if I tap right here in this spot and I drag it upwards, I'm dragging this color to this area. And that's how the tool works. So if I were to drag from here, the green out here, you would start to see green coming toward the skin. We don't want that though. But I just wanted you guys to see exactly how the tool works. I know when I first started using it, it wasn't the easiest tool to use. I just kind of I had to figure it out on my own. I've had to figure out what worked for me. Don't be afraid to zoom in. I would say don't zoom in too much, because you want to be able to see what you're doing, how it's blending with everything else around. So this is a dark area. You want to keep that area dark, maybe fade some of that light into it. I feel like that's a little too heavy. We go to the rest of the skin. Again, I'm not zoomed in totally close like this because I want to be able to see what's going on out here. Sometimes when you're so close, you don't really realize how much you're actually doing or applying to the photo because it's so light. But if you back out and look at it the way that it's going to be seen, you can edit it as such. Again, nothing too crazy. The photo really is good the way it is, but you're gonna see how just slight adjustments, slight changes in a photo can really just enhance the beauty and the details that's there. So I'm gonna continue going. We want to keep this shadow that's on her cheek. You can tell the flash was coming from the right side over here. This shoot was so long ago. How did we get a flash over there? And I remembered my girlfriend, she's actually standing off the bridge, pointing the light upwards. Perfect angle. Like, she did a great job. Even the makeup, you don't want to take away the makeup. Her makeup is done the way it is for a reason. So you don't want to go changing the look of the makeup. You just want to lightly brush it just so it goes with the rest of the skin. Again, these are shadows, so I like to maintain most of the shadows. But if there's a shadow I just feel like shouldn't be there, like it might just be just something that you just don't want in the photo. I would say don't get rid of dimples because those do create shadows depending on where the light is pointing. But like anything that's not a feature of their face, if it's casting a shadow for some reason, I would say, for me typically, I'm gonna get rid of that shadow. I'll show you guys a little before and after really quick. So this is what we've done so far. This is what we've done to the photo. So I think that looks pretty good. As you guys Remember, I didn't do too much to the eyelids because there's makeup there and I want to keep that there. I just want to just define it a little bit. Now, if we had the time it took me to do this, I'd probably say, not counting me going a little overboard with like the white in the hair, I'd say maybe 3 minutes editing this photo. And that's because I'm really focused on just the skin. You can go as far as using the same exact tool, because remember, it's what all you're doing is you're enhancing what's there. You can use the same exact tool to enhance other colors or shadows that exist in the photo. So for instance, her dress, we have the shadows that are being casted on her dress. We can actually create more structured shadows into this photo, or even get rid of any shadows you don't want using the same tool. Remember, shadows are just absence of light. Anywhere that light does not exist, when light exists in other areas. I don't even know if that's a technical definition, but that was my definition, okay? Anywhere that light does not exist, where, yeah. And one thing, so when you start to understand how light works, and you understand just some of the different tools you start using in Photoshop, you find hacks and you find different ways to use the tool. Now, this tool is not designed to get rid of wrinkles, or is it? If we think about wrinkles, right? Wrinkles are created from shadowed areas for the most part. And the reason I say that, because if you look here, all the wrinkles have a shadow to them. So if you can color out, let's see, if you can color out the shadows that are there, right? You see how that wrinkle is disappearing? So if you can use the mixer brush to just blend in the shadows that exist, then you can actually get rid. So it's not used for it, but if you actually prefer or decide that this is the best way for you, it can be used this way. I use it several times to, you know, for wrinkles. And it works just fine. So let me see, I'm gonna try to speed through this. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you guys for a second. So for those who don't know, I'm a full-time entrepreneur, 2 years now. It's been probably the best decision I've ever made, but also the most scariest decision I've ever made. I won't go too into depth about, you know, my experience the last 2 years, but I am gonna say, like I said, one of the best decisions I ever made. If you love what you do, you know, it's never gonna become one of those things you just get tired of, especially as long as you're constantly educating yourself, just getting better, mastering your craft, getting to a point where it's like you get bored and you wanna incorporate something new, you know? So I have those moments here and there. I don't spend every single day learning new things, but I do realize there are moments where I may hit a brick wall, or I get a request from a client to do something maybe I've never done before, and I'm like, okay, I need to figure this out. So I go and I learn it. You know, it's all about just adding more value to yourself. The more you educate yourself, the more you learn, the more skills you learn, the more value that you can provide to the marketplace. I highly encourage anyone to just take it upon themselves to educate yourself. Reading a book was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It wasn't like a novel or nothing like that. It was an actual book about business. One of the best things I ever did. And it is actually one of the reasons why I am doing this full time. So, all right, let me jump back into this photo. As you can see, my eye drew to these wrinkles here, and I didn't feel right leaving this one out. And then the rest of the dress was like, actually not. This is actually kind of supposed to have that textury feel, and the wrinkles give it that. So I'm not gonna go crazy on that. So I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm satisfied with the way the colors are blending, her skin, the shadows. We're gonna look at it before and after, right? You see, we didn't change the look of the photo. We just polished it up a little bit. That is pretty much how you use the tool, the frequency separation tool, or you can call it the magic touch. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I named it frequency separation. for this video so that you guys can know the proper term. What I like to do next